Hey, Thursday, May 22nd, as you're watching my live stream of me live streaming a stream of liveness. Let's see. From there, see everything's turned in, we're good. Final few days, we're good. As you figured out, school iPads return as they start calling you out. I do apologize. As we're going through story today, there is a chance maybe you're going to have to leave to go turn in iPad. I don't stop story. You're just going to have to deal with it as we go through. It's just one of those parts of life. Good luck. I wish you the best. Elena, be quick.
But
Good job. They already beat you to it.
So I was just laughing.
It also beat Henry, who was, raging at the same thing, but Abby beat you to it. There's my background picture. That was that group of.
Oh
my goodness, it is.
There's a lot of special kids.
And Elena.
What's up? Many special kids.
Right there.
Why do I look so short?
Because you are short.
I hate to break this to you.
I know, but
I am now out of Skittles. Also, finish those off. So, but the other ones I still have if you're wanting. Hopefully you have checked at some point Skyward. I'm assuming it is all locked in and good unless you still send me stuff. And I have had kids who have zeros and have turned in a thing and emailed me. Once you do, I then update it and I will let you know. So then you should be good to go there. Yearbook, mine's over here. You're still welcome to it. I do know it's a little tough to sign it while I'm telling stories and you're just staring at me with your mouth open. But if you are wanting to come over to sign it, you can. Tomorrow, I take a...
Pardon the interruption, Chargers. At this time, 7th graders with last names H through J, please bring your iPads to the library.
The good news is we're right next to it, so you're the first ones in line, so you get back.
Through
So H-I-J-K. Tomorrow.
Wait, what?
No K.
H-I-J. H-I-J, not K. I apologize. Spelling is hard. That's my
So we're gonna get all mine.
I know. So, with tomorrow, I take a picture of all of my class periods so I can have them. Beginning of the year, I take those pictures of you, and then end of the year, I take this picture of you. So I have like a beginning of
Is
the
that
year,
Libby?
end of the year thing. And so we'll take it just in this area. Hopefully you're here tomorrow. If not, then that really makes it hard to get you in the picture. Hi, Elena.
Is there a reason there's no autographs on this page?
Nope, just no one signed it.
Can I take up the whole page?
What's that? You want me to go ahead and give you a referral? Sure.
Okay.
So yesterday I talked about my purple
Grimace.
car that kids called Grimace. Good job, Happy Kid. This was my Grimace. This was taken about a month before my first day of teaching, because that says a little date down there. So it was July 13th of 1999. I think that was the day I bought the car.
99.
And then that was the car I had until I hit a deer. And then that kind of killed the car.
Hey.
And kids keep asking me
Why are
to
you
shave my head. So I've already done the head shaving thing. This is what I look like with
You
shaved
should go
head.
bald.
I'm not in any hurry to
You
go
should
back
get
to
a
You
buzz
should
it.
go
cut.
bald,
You
bald.
should
Been
get a
there.
buzz
I
cut.
did.
bald.
I
That's
just
like bald,
didn't
bald.
find the pictures in time. And I did have me as bald, where it was like you could grip tape my head. I was just trying to quickly find pictures this morning during a meeting, and those were the ones I found. So that's the best you're going to get at the moment. Hi, Russell.
You should get a buzz cut for the summer.
Hi, Benta.
Oh, wait.
So where did I leave off with you guys yesterday?
When the person
When you
ran
ran
out
out
of
of
the
the
house,
house.
you shoved your brother.
You were at the doorway.
So I had not opened the door yet?
No.
Okay, so that gives me an idea of where we are.
And then the bell rung.
That bell. Hi, Evan.
Have you done the leopard print yet, though?
So, with where I had left off as I
Can I go to the bathroom?
was talking about running up to the door, pushing younger brother out of the way. Did I talk about trying to get the door open?
No.
If you've ever seen a horror movie where you see the girl running from the guy with the big machete and she's trying to get away and she can't figure out how to do simple things, and you're like, what kind of idiot can't figure out how to open a door?
You.
When there's a scary thing chasing you, it becomes real challenging doors. And I was in that same thing where I could not get the door open. I remember doing like the twisty thing, and at one moment I did pull the door open, and when I did, it hit my toes and then slammed shut again. And I had that moment of like blinky, and then finally got door open. And all three of us went running out of the house. When we did, being the expert criminals we are, we all ran straight to our houses. Fourth grader lived that way, so he came out, ran that direction. I came out, ran along the grass this direction. My younger brother, being in kindergarten and being safety-minded, ran down to the sidewalk and then ran along there. And I remember, yeah, you'll have to wait to the end of class now. As I was running, going as, you can paddle all you want though. Running is part of the issue, as I've learned in this class, when I call on you guys ask really bad questions, so I've learned just to stop calling.
What about the bikes?
That's fascinating. So then as we run out with our bikes being on the other side of the building, so no, we're there, that's why we weren't using our bikes, you just had to wait, I was gonna get there, wait. I came running out, and I remember just running as fast as I could. It was like tree, car, house, and my little legs were going as fast as I could. I remember looking over to my right, this direction, and my little brother, bowling ball legs, was running along, waddling as fast as he could along the little thing. And he and I are running, and we're making like that eye contact of brothers as you're escaping a monster, and we're like, we're gonna live, as we are running away. And I look over at my brother, and he's looking at me, and his eyes go from me to behind me, and then all of a sudden his eyes get bigger. And I'm like, well, what's he looking at? And I turn around, and the guy was right behind me. Turns out, of the three of us, he did not chase the fourth grader, he did not chase the bowling ball, he chased me. And it was one of those things where I was like, and I tried to go faster, but his hand came down on my shoulder, and I had that moment of all of my momentum stopping. I was like, hey, and him pulling me backwards. And I remember as it happened, I turned to look at my brother, and I go, keep running. And he looks at me, and he's like, I'm not stopping. And he just kept on down the road, and the guy turned me around, and I was like looking straight in his face. I did not know he owned the house. I thought he was a big, scary monster man who was coming to kill me. So I assumed at this moment he was going to kill me. Imagine, though, middle of the day, house on a road, door flies open, 3 small children come running out of it screaming, large man chases them, grabs one of small children and turns child around who is screaming at him. And then he drugged me back into the house. And he dragged screaming child into house. Today, someone would have been suspicious. But this was the 80s, and we just called it a Tuesday. And so I remember him dragging me back into the house. I was convinced he was going to kill me. I wouldn't even answer his questions. Remember, he was like, who are you? Why are you in my house? I was just like, don't kill me. And I just kept screaming. He dragged me back into the house. And the stairs... The banister railing was not against a wall. It had like little spindly things that was on the way up. So I remember when he brought me into the house and sat me down on the stairs, I went full spider monkey. It was like, yuck, like wrapped my arms and legs around the little spindly things because I was hoping that he wasn't going to kill me. So he went past that, after I jumped on the, he went into the kitchen, and I remember hearing him call the police. He was like, yes, I caught someone breaking and entering into my house. Yes, I actually have them here. And yes, I have them. They're on the stairs. Please send a police officer. And I was just like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I remember like holding on to little things. And I remember hearing him like walk around in the kitchen, which from where I was, I couldn't really see him because I was busy crying. And I think he was taking all of our toys and probably throwing them in a trash can. But eventually, doorbell rings. And the door opened this way, so I couldn't see who it was. But I could see through like the little outlining things, I could see like the police officers that were there. And he came down and he was like, open the door, and I could see him and door, but not who he was talking to. And I could hear the police officers, and I'm like, you reported someone breaking and entering. And he's like, I did. Like, and you say that you have them here. And he's like, I do. Like, well, where is he? And the guy stepped back and he goes, on the stairs. And the door like opens more, and he steps back. I remember I looked up, and these 2 police officers step in, and they go, "Hey, and like they just stopped and like looked at me, looked at each other, looked at me again, like stepped back for a second, and then stepped forward and went, "The child?" And the guy was like, "Yep, he was the one breaking and entering." And I looked at the cops, and I go, "Are you going to kill me?" Because I was convinced someone was going to kill me. They did. This called my mom. But they're like, nope. And they're like, son, is this your house? And I go, uh-uh. And they go, do you know where your house is? And I go, uh-huh. And they go, we're going to take you home now. And I went, oh, okay. And they couldn't put handcuffs on me because, not because I was a good kid, but because my wrists were too small. It would have been like putting, it would have been like putting them on like pipe cleaners. Like, yink, it would have just slid right off. But they took me out and they put me into the back of the car. And then they, remember, like driving out. They're like, you know where your house is? And I directed them to my house. When I took my daughters on the daddy arrest tour, I found out something that I was not aware of, which is I remember being in the police car and having to drive all the way back to my house to get there. When we took the tour, this is my house, road here, I had a neighbor who was right behind me, and then this house was right behind it. It was literally 2 houses away. When I was a kid, I thought for sure it was like on the other side of the neighborhood, but apparently it was just right behind us. Police officers pull up into the driveway, and they got me out, and they walked me up to the front door, police officer on either side of me, and they had like the hands on my shoulders, and they walked up, and they ding dong, rang the doorbell. And I remember my mom stepping up, and she was like, hi, what's going on? They're like, ma'am, is this your son? She was, yes. And they go, he was caught breaking and entering into your neighbor's house with 2 other youths. She just went, what now? And they had to explain to her about me breaking the law and breaking and entering. And I remember that I had to go inside, and she stayed and talked to the police officers, and I sat on the couch, and they went upstairs, and I, being the good criminal I was, I ratted out the 4th grader and said where he lived, and then I ratted out my younger brother and told him where he was, because that's what good criminals do. I got stitches, snitches. And I found out later that apparently my younger brother had run upstairs to his bedroom and had gone where you go, where the monsters are chasing you, which was under the bed. And my dad had to grab him by the ankles and he's like, and drag my brother out and then bring him downstairs. And then we had to wait until the 4th grader showed up, because they went over to his house and got him and his parents, and they brought all of us back to my house, and we all sat in like the family room, and it was like the 3 of us kids and our parents and the 2 police officers. And I remember them talking. It was like, do you understand what you did was wrong? And we're like, we understand. It was like, do you understand that you broke the law and you could be in jail right now? That you could be in prison with... I was like, I don't want to go to prison. And so they did the whole big scary talking to you. I was like, you have to be good. Anything else you do is going to go on your permanent record. We're going to let you go this time because your parents say you're good kids. It's because I'm 8. You can't arrest an 8-year-old. But they're like freaking me out the entire time. And they're like, you have to be a good kid. And it did. And it freaked me out. And it kept me from getting arrested after that for like 6 more years. So now, I went 6 years without getting arrested.
Wow, so impressive.
I know. Thank you. I'm on a better record now. And so, until high school. So my freshman year, 9th grade, was when things changed again. And so this story's a bit tougher for me. This is the story I told my 2 students who came in to talk to me. This one, I was a bad kid. What happened was, from that time forward, I was a smart kid. I had A's. I was in some advanced classes. I ended up joining like honor society, stuff like that, and I was trying to be as good of a kid as I could. But I was rebellious, and I made poor choices. And this story, there's no real bright side to it. It's the first one you can laugh at me, I was a dumb kid. But this one, I was just bad. And so it was started in my 8th grade year when I was in junior high. And there were kids at my school who started shoplifting a lot. It was really popular at my junior high. And specifically, there was a group of kids who I thought were idiots. And not idiots because they shoplifted, like idiots because of like their grades in school. But they were getting away with shoplifting. And what they would shoplift was like radios and CD players and CDs. And they would bring them to school and resell them and make money. And I was like, how are these idiot kids making all of this money stealing stuff? Like, what could a smart kid do if he wanted? And I was like, I'm a smart kid. I bet I could get away with it. So I decided that I would try my hand at shoplifting. And it turns out I was really good at it, which is not a good thing. The only way I justified it to myself is that I would not steal the big items that they did. I limited it myself to only 2 types of things. I stole a lot of them, but I only stole 2 types of things. Comic books and candy. And I stole a lot of comic books and candy, but I convinced myself that it wasn't that bad because it wasn't really a lot of money and that it made me an okay person. It didn't, but it's the way it went. And so this went all through the end of 8th grade, like the second half of the year, into the summertime between 8th grade going into high school. And I got to the point where I had a system down, and I stole a lot. I remember there was a time where I went to, I could ride my bike to like the local like CVS kind of thing that was in my neighborhood. And I rode my bike there, and I remember there being a police officer in the like checkout line. And I was so cocky. I shoplifted candy like while making eye contact with the police officer because I was being a sassy kid. I didn't get caught. I got away with it. And all that did was empower me and make me more confident, which was even worse. High school, I was on the wrestling team, and in high school, wrestling starts like at the beginning of the school year. So I had been wrestling like this entire school year. And on the wrestling team, I had to make weight, and so part of the problem was I was stealing so much candy. I couldn't eat it all. I was stealing not because I wanted the candy, but because I loved the thrill of stealing. I thought it was exciting. I liked the challenge of getting away with it. I was a good kid, and I was like, this is my bad kid thing I was doing. And I had so much candy, and I couldn't eat it because of wrestling season, that I would just bring it into classrooms and just give it to other kids. It was my way of trying to buy friends because I was trying to be popular at the time. And I remember like walking into a classroom with my backpack just full of candy and just like handing it out to kids. And I'm like, Santa Brovy's here. And I was like just giving candy to people. It didn't work. I mean, kids took the candy, but I didn't make any friends from it. It turns out you can't really buy friends with candy. You can get kids who take your candy, but not necessarily buy friends with candy. And that was how things went for like the first 3 months of high school till November. And one day in November, we had a wrestling meet. And in Noblesville, when you had a wrestling meet, it's unlike in junior high when you guys have like a sports thing and you have to like stay after school in the coach's room and then like go get on a bus or whatnot. In high school, they treat you a bit more adulty, and they'll just go, hey, the bus leaves at 4:45. Wherever you go do something, just be here at 4:45. Don't miss the bus, or we leave you behind. And in Noblesville, where I went, I forgot this part of the story. It's so embarrassing. So the day of this thing, when Noblesville, there was a place right behind it. But that day, I had a crush on a girl. Not the same one. Might have been Joanna. That's not the one I was thinking of at the time. But there was a guy in one of my classes who all the girls went after, and they thought he was all hunky. And I was watching him this particular day, and I saw that he was using breath spray. This little like sprayed into your mouth, and he would like and then go talk to the ladies, and the ladies dug him. And I was like, ooh, the ladies don't dig me, but if I had breath spray, that's all it would take to make the ladies love me. Turns out that's not how it works either, but when you're a kid, you're just an idiot, and I was an idiot. And so I decided I was going to get some breath spray. So that day after school, wrestling meet, the way it works in Noblesville is this was my high school, which is like this building you see in the background. Right across, there's my high school, there's a parking lot, this grass field, and then there's this little shopping center. Right here where it says Google, there's a McDonald's that's still there. This AutoZone, when I was in school, was a drugstore, like a CVS kind of thing. Now it's an AutoZone. And over here was like a grocery store. And so every day when we had a wrestling meet, we would just walk across the parking lot, the field, the parking lot here, go to McDonald's, and then go here, and then head back. That's what we did this day. Went to McDonald's, and then we were going into this CVS. So this is going to play a role in a moment. So going into the CVS that have the glass doors, back in my day, we didn't all have those automatic fancy shunk doors. You had to actually push a door open with your hands. And that's how this one was, except it wasn't like, you didn't go straight through. Like you had like the outer doors you'd push open and then step in, and there was a glass wall, and then you had to like turn and like enter the store this way. And then on this side, there was like a little metal railing, and that was how you would exit. So like you would come in and enter the store, and then over here was the checkout area, and this is how you would exit the store. So I came into the store, and then I was not planning on taking any candy that day because my backpack was like full of it already. I was like, I don't need any more of that. So I did want to get the Banaka. So I remember I had no idea where it was, and I'd never bought Banaka before. So I was walking the aisles trying to find it, and eventually found it in one of the aisles, and it was a package that looked identical to this. It has not changed in forever. And this was the exact package that I found back when I was there. And the price on it was like $3 or something like that. And I was like, that's ridiculous. I'm like, who pays $3 for breath spray? Chicks aren't worth that. And so I decided, you know what's better than paying for it?
Stealing.
Exactly. But I had never stolen breath spray before. I'd only ever stolen comic books and candy. I was like, come on, how hard can stealing breath spray be? So I remember I had it in my hand, and I was like walking around the aisles up and down. And I was like, well, I don't want anyone to see me stealing it. That would be dumb. And I was in the store with about 15 other wrestlers who were running around causing havoc and being a distraction. And some of them were even like stealing stuff because I saw them steal stuff. And so I decided to go away where no one could see me. And so I went down one of the aisles all the way to the edge where I was like the wall on one side was like the wall of the whole store. And then it had like turned out to be like the feminine product aisle, but I didn't care. And I was like, I'm just going to go down and do my stealing. And so I was walking down the aisle, and I had my big winter coat on, and I just took the package, and just ripped the package open, took out the breath spray that was inside, dropped that into my inside pocket, and then I took the packaging and just like crumpled it up, and just walked by and just like dropped it behind something on one of the shelves. Got down to the end of the aisle, and then kept walking. Walked around for a few minutes, you know, to throw off suspicion. Went and talked to a couple of my friends, and then I was like, hey, I'm heading out. I'm not going to stick around. I'm going to meet you guys back over at school. And they're like, all right, I'll see you over there. And over here was a little checkout area, and I had gone past the checkout area, because again, not buying anything. Had gone through the first little glass door, and let's see, the glass door pushed this way, and I had pushed the door open this way, and I had turned, and I was opening up, my hand was on this door, and that door like opened inward. And I had my hand on the door, and as I was pulling it open, a hand comes down on my shoulder. And it was like a very heavy hand. And it said, I don't remember exactly what it was the guy said. It was like, stop, or where are you going, or something. Whatever it was, what I remember was the feeling in my stomach. And if you've ever been doing a bad thing,
Any 7th graders with the last names that begin with the letters K through L, please bring your iPads down to the library. K through L.
if you've, again, had that moment where just you've been doing something bad and you get caught, there's this dropping feeling in your stomach, you know, like when you sass your mom and you get your phone taken away and you know you made that poor choice, and then all of a sudden it's just, that was the feeling I had. Hand on shoulder, and it was just all of a sudden, and I knew I was caught. So I'm going to walk you through my thought process at this moment, because it still stays with me to this day. Hand on my shoulder. And I could tell it was a guy because of the voice and the hand and how heavy it was. But my hand is on the outside door to the outside. And my first thought was, I'm a wrestler. I've been wrestling for a couple of years now. Don't get ahead of me. Follow the story. Stop trying to think ahead. And I was like, I know how to get out of a grapple. And that's what this is a grapple. That's what the hand is on me. And we've been even learning it recently. I know how to drop my shoulder. I know how to spin. And I can get this door open. And I can be spinned open out before whoever this is has a chance to process what just happened. And there is no way he is in as good a shape as me, because I'm 14 years old on the wrestling team and I am full of energy. But before I did anything, there was a second thought that followed it. And that was Chad. Chad was a kid on the team who hated me. Chad made it his life goal to torment me and anything he could do to make my life awful. And Chad was in the store behind me. He was one of the kids that was in there. And I realized if I ran, Chad would rat me out in a heartbeat, because he would love to see me suffer and be in pain. And if I ran, he would give my name to whoever this person is behind me. And then they would probably come over to the school, and then I would be arrested there. And I had this balancing thing in my head of knowing I could escape and also realizing Chad was in there and would rat me out. And it's a little scary to this day that I don't know what I would have done if I had not known Chad was in that place behind me. Like, if I had just been on my own, if it was just me in the store, I wonder to this day if I would have tried to run, because I had it all planned out except for that one thing. And Chad scared me because he was a jerk. But he made me make the right choice. Right choice. And I let go of the door. And I remember it being one of the toughest things I've ever done, because I released the door and I could watch it go away from me. And the guy turned me around and I came face to face with the pharmacist, wearing the white coat and all. And he had the packaging in his hand. And so he was just like holding like the empty, smashed up packaging. And he was like, "Son, were you going to pay for this?" And of course, I did what every kid does when you get caught.
Why?
Exactly. And that was my first response, was, "Pay for what? That's not mine," because that's what you do. To which he replied, "Son, you're on camera." And I just went, huh? Like my everything deflated. And he not only goes, "You're on camera, it's right there." And he pointed like to my pocket, like where I'd put it. And I was like, I pulled it out and I was like, "Oh, yeah." And I was like, "I did mean to pay for this. Thank you for reminding me," because I was trying to pivot. I'm like, I'm a smart kid. I can figure this out. And he goes, "Good. Then you should have done it before you tried to leave." And I went, back down again. So he then turns me around and leads me back through the entire store, holding on to the packaging and the breath spray with his hand on my shoulder, and walks me back through the entire place past everybody in the store. And if you think making a choice like this is bad, when you do it in front of your peers, it's worse. And when you do it in front of that one kid you hate, who is that biggest jerk in the world, and you make eye contact with him and you see him smiling at you as you get walked back through, it is one of the worst experiences you could possibly imagine. Because as I go back through and all these heads are popping out, I can just see Chad going the entire time. And I'm like, I would go to jail to strangle you. So he takes me back through the entire thing. And I remember at the back wall, they had these two big metal silver like swinging doors that went into their back storage area. And he walks me through the back swinging doors, and there was like a storage room that was like half the size of my classroom. And it was like full of like stock items you would put out there on the shelves. And the door swings open. There's a little table and desk when we first walked in, and he dropped the packaging on the desk that was there. And they had a chair like my red ones, except I remember it didn't have the little slideys on the bottom. It had the 4 legs, because he grabbed the chair and dragged it across the ground. It was like, as it went across the ground, and he just goes, "Sit down!" And I was like, I just like sat down in the chair and stared at him. And I remember like, so I'm here, and he would be about where Henry was. And after I sat down, and he picked up the phone that was on the wall, and then just he calls the cops. And I just sat there and listened to him. And he was like, "Yep, I caught a shoplifter. He's in our back room. Yep, I have him under control. Can you please send an officer?" And I'm just like staring at him going, holy crap, I've just ruined my life. Like, this is not like when I was 8 and got arrested and it was like, oh, he's adorable. I broke the law, and like I knew I was doing something wrong, and I was crushed. And I'm like, I don't know how I move forward from this. And he hangs up the phone, and then he looks at me, and he goes, "Don't go anywhere. I'm going back to work." And then he just turns and leaves, and just leaves me sitting in there. Yeah. So I'm just sitting in this back room by myself, just going, what the heck just happened? And I'm like, and like the evidence is sitting right there, and I'm looking around this room trying to figure out what am I supposed to do. And then again, don't jump ahead of the story. As I'm sitting there looking around the room, I notice about as far away as that desk is the wall with the emergency exit door.
Oh no.
That is sitting right there. And there's no one in this back room with me. And I'm just sitting there. And I realize if I wait a few minutes, all of the wrestlers will be gone, and Chad will be gone, And then I don't have to worry anymore about this. And so I realized not only is the door right there, but if I open the door, I can see my school. And there is no way this guy could get back into here. Even if that alarm goes off of me opening the door, I will run and be gone before he has a chance to get there. And the only thing that stopped me was a thing the guy had said. And if he had not, much like my thought about Chad when he first put his hand on me, it's one of those moments where I look back and realize there was one thing that stopped me. And if this guy had not said that one thing, I think I would have ran. And the thing he had said was me being on camera. When he said I was on camera, my fear was that if I ran, they would take that videotape over to the school and they would play that videotape like in the office and go, do you know who this kid is? And then if they identified me, which was pretty easy to do, my school wasn't that big, then they would probably arrest me at school. And I was like, the only thing worse than being arrested now would be arrested like sitting in English class tomorrow and have the door open with like police officers coming in. I was like, that would be even worse. If I had not been on camera, I think I would have ran. But I didn't. I sat there. 15, 20 minutes go by, and then the doors open again, and the pharmacist comes back in, but this time he's followed by a police officer. Really big guy. And I remember the guy steps in, pharmacist, police officer, and the police officer goes, huh, is this him? And the pharmacist goes, yeah. And he goes, so what is it he stole? And the pharmacist picks up the packaging and is like this and hands it to him. Still remember. The police officer goes, huh, damn, son, how bad's your breath? And I was just like, girls. And so then he comes over to me. I don't remember him reading me my rights or Miranda or anything like that, but I do remember him having me stand up, and he put handcuffs on me behind my back. And he turned around, he was like, you're under arrest for shoplifting. And if you've never had handcuffs put on, good. If you feel your wrist, there are these two bones that are right around there. And what it'll be, if a police officer is not angry with you, then they can put it above that bone, and it's a bit more squishy and doesn't hurt. If the police officer's not happy with you, they can put the metal handcuffs on this bone, and it works like a vice, and it crushes them. My police officer was not happy with me. And when he put it on the first one, like he goes click, click, and then he goes clink, and like pushes it all the way in, and it smashed that bone. And I went, ew! And he goes, did that hurt? And I go, uh-huh. And he goes, good. And I went, oh. So then he does the other one and hits that same bone. And he goes, clink, clink. And this time I just went, and he goes, did it hurt? And I went, and he goes, huh. And I was like, of course it hurt. You crushed my wrist. And then he did the whole picking you up by your arm thing, and then like walked me back through the store. So I went from back of store, and he's gonna lead me all the way back out in handcuffs, police officer, and my arm held up. And it's weird the things you remember, the stuff that stays with you that you wouldn't think would. And for me, one of the big things I remember about this moment was as soon as we walked through the double doors, we stepped through, and I remember looking to my left, and about where you guys would be, there was a mom with her daughter who's probably 7 or 8 years old. And as I stepped through the double doors, I looked over, and the little girl like looks up at me and smiles. And it was like that little happy moment of, oh, the world's not awful. Little kid smiles at you. And I did like a little smile back. And then the mom looked at me. And the mom like gave like a little ah, and then she saw the police officer and the handcuffs and saw me, and her face dropped. But then what got me was the mom grabs her daughter and moves her daughter